All right, I'd like to convene the meeting of the Finance Committee. It is now 6:15. We have a few budgets to do, and I'd like to go over the minutes as well for the previous two meetings. If we'd like to take a look at it.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the Finance Committee meeting of what was really March 3rd, 2021.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Motion by Jeff Noble, seconded by Karen Schmidt, to approve the minutes of the February 3rd meeting.
March 3rd meeting.
I
I know it says.
March 3rd meeting. I'm sorry.
All right. Discussion.
Do we have any discussion?
Yeah, I think Jeff
Cut it
was.
out on us, Bill.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing just went away.
Yeah. No, it cut out, your screen turned black.
We had a whole bunch, yeah. It's a little on the frustrating side this evening.
Yeah. It said your broadband width was low.
Let me make a change and see if maybe this helps out a little bit. I've tried this before and it's worked. Let's see if it works again. How is,
Oh, network band. Yeah.
is that a little better?
I can hear you good, yeah.
That thing's talking to us, but it's not, Mike must not be working on it. Oh, anyway. All right.
Do you want to give the roll?
So if you want to read what.
Okay, Brittany,
Brittany, can you do that?
the motion's been made and seconded. It was made by Jeff Noble and seconded by Karen Schmidt. And it looks like you got some help there. All right. Okay, is there any discussion? Can you hear me, Sandy?
Maybe.
No, it's not showing up on my screen. Sandy, can you hear?
I can hear you, but you cut out.
Yeah. How's that? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you still are like, you're like,
That's ugly. That's a wheel of a dance. God, this is terrible. All right.
are you in the same spot as you've been?
Yeah, I'm actually using the same system I used last week. And then for whatever reason, it is not working tonight. Yeah, I've got a great signal actually. I use my Wi-Fi hotspot because the internet here, it won't give me internet. It'll give me a Wi-Fi connection, but it won't give me internet. So it's whatever.
So it looks like you have 5 bars or 4 bars from what I see. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but even you break up on occasion. But it's the signal in here.
Did Brittany get the motion in a second?
Brittany, did you get the motion on the minutes?
No, but I can just watch it on YouTube after. I'm not worried.
Okay.
TV
All right.
recorders it.
All right. Sounds good. I guess we'll just have to patch it together. Is there any discussion on the minutes?
Just a couple items on the minutes. It's dated for Wednesday, February 3rd on the minutes. The actual meeting date
Yeah.
was.
Hang on just a second, Susan.
And I'll read an amended motion after Mike brings up the items.
The actual date of the meeting was Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021. And then within the members absent excused, we have Tracy Manning and Christine Toomey. If we can remove those names, they are no longer members of the committee. Those are the only two.
Only 2 items on that, for that meeting? Anybody else? else have any
Please
changes for that
raise your
meeting?
voices.
Anybody else have any changes for that meeting?
No.
All right. I'll make a motion to amend the minutes of March, Wednesday, March 3rd, as follows. The date on the minutes was March 3rd, not February 3rd, as listed on the top of the minutes. And Tracy Manning and Christine Toomey should not be listed as members absent excused, as they're no longer members of the Finance Committee.
Second?
That's just we don't have, that's not a motion, that's agreed upon.
Yes, amended motion.
Okay, you want to amend the motion?
I think.
All right.
I don't know.
No, that's fine. A motion has been made to amend the Finance Committee minutes to read March 3rd, not February 3rd, and Tracy Manning and Christine Toomey should be stricken because they are no longer members of the Finance Committee. All right? And Susan? Was
Yeah, we covered.
that covered what you were looking for?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much. All right.
It doesn't have to be a motion, I want it.
No, well, okay, seeing no further discussion on the minutes of the March 3rd meeting as amended, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and Susan?
Aye.
Okay, that is unanimous. Brittany? Okay, thank you. We just have to do we have to be sure to use a roll call vote as we go through. But going singularly like we did is good as well. All right, our next set of minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of this February 17th?
Yes,
Of
that is,
Wednesday, February 17th, 2021.
Second?
a motion has been made by Jeff Noble, seconded by Karen Schmidt, to approve the minutes of the February 17th meeting. Is there any discussion?
The same deletion of Tracy Manning and Christine Toomey from members absent excused.
Within this, Christine Toomey should be stricken from that. But Tracy Manning resigned. She was a member at that time, but
Okay.
she has since resigned.
That was after that date.
Thank you.
Right, that, yes. So this was the meeting that she resigned at.
So just Christine Toomey.
Yeah, so, right. So from now on, we'll have to
Okay.
have those two removed. All right, so that means we're down to 6 members of the Finance Committee. We usually have 9. It would be really great if we could get some people to volunteer for these helpful positions within the town. The Finance Committee is a great place to learn that. All right. All right. Is there any further discussion on the minutes of the meeting? Seeing or hearing none, all those in favor of the revised minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Jeff Noble,
Aye.
Karen Schmidt,
Aye.
Kara Smith,
Aye.
Mike Jerome, I get it. Susan Carroll, and Bill Christine are in favor. That bit of housekeeping is all done. Now, the next thing we have to go over is the Traffic Commission. There has been a little bit of a change from our meeting of last week, March 3rd, to the Traffic Commission budget. So I'd like to entertain a motion to reopen the motion from March 3rd for Traffic Commission, Department 293.
I'll make a motion to reopen the consideration of the budget for Traffic Commission, number 293.
Second?
A motion has been made and seconded to open the motion of March, the meeting on March 3rd for Department 293 Traffic Commission. That motion was made and seconded by Jeff Noble and Karen Schmidt. Are there any questions about that motion? Seeing or hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jeff Noble.
Aye.
Karen Schmidt. Kara Smith.
Aye.
Mike Jerome. And Bill Racine. And Susan Carroll are all in favor.
I'll make a motion to approve the new budget.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to, I'd like to move to approve the new budget for Traffic Commission, Department number 293, in the amount of $1,500 in total expenses only, level funded from the previous year, and that's a deduction from the previously approved budget of $54.
Second.
A motion has been made by Jeff Noble, seconded by Karen Schmidt, to approve the amended budget for Department 293 Traffic Commission in the amount of $1,500, a reduction of $54 from the previous budget. And Sandy, that was just a little bit of an error in that we picked up.
Yeah, the very first thing I noticed was the FY 2021 budget wasn't exactly what it was. Upon seeing that, I did also notice that that budget's been level funded for many years, and then what was approved was, the $54 higher. So I thought it prudent to at least amend it to be what it's been, and I didn't pick up on that last meeting, so.
Okay. Okay, so it's just a small amendment, all right.
Yeah.
Is everyone happy? Okay. Seeing or hearing no further discussion on the amended budget, all those in favor?
Aye.
Jeff Noble,
Aye.
Karen Schmidt,
Aye.
Kara Smith,
Aye.
Mike Jerome, Susan Carroll Lombardi, and Bill Racine are all in favor. Motion passes. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget for Information Technology Services, Department number 157, in the amount of $38,000, consisting of expenses only. It is an increase of 40.74% over the previous year.
Second.
Motion has been made by Jeff Noble, seconded by Karen Schmidt, for Department for Information Technology Services, Department 157, in the amount of $38,000, a 40.75% increase. Is there any discussion? Sandy, you want to give us a little overview on what's going on? I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, due to a lot of people having computers to work from home during the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as cybersecurity for our emails on those computers, as well as on the computers within Town Hall. We have exhausted the budget, and as you know, you just did a reserve fund transfer of $5,000
Right.
not long ago. overspend the budget and expenses, we can use extra budget and a line item to take care of something in a different line item, so. We'll see what happens with the extra 10,000. I know, Bill, this has been something you've been liking to be increased for a long time.
But just an opinion, that budget still seems to be underfunded by, I would say, about half what it should be, considering the IT program within the Town of Dalton organization. That's my opinion. If you consider that we have over 60 computers within our system, plus various networks, and heaven only knows how many servers we have, plus we have off-site storage, or at least I hope we're using some off-site storage for files and things of that nature. I would have no objections with this budget being over 50,000 for this process. But I suppose small steps going up, it's going in the direction that I'd like to see it go in. Well, considering what I went through this evening, like in this building, the Wi-Fi in this building is rather challenged.
So that's a point then. Is it Wi-Fi or whatever?
Yeah, and they supposedly have taken care of that in the last month, but somehow I don't know what occurred, or we can make sure Pat knows about it, but there has been issues with that.
Yeah.
And it's been taken care of, but evidently it needs some more addressing. And so part of the, I just want to let everyone know, and I think I've mentioned this before, when we have a project where we're buying new computers, actually we kind of just went through a 3-year revamp of everyone's computers, over the past 2 years. We include in the capital project amount IT services to install them, to get them all hooked up, maybe their printer work with it. So this budget for computer maintenance is just for existing services that may or may occur that need maintenance. But they've already been set up. No one sets up new computers with this budget. So just so you know, that's how we operate our capital part of purchasing new equipment. So otherwise it would be much bigger.
So there's a council on aging, they have their own budget, of course.
They all have
Do they have an IT line also, or?
Do you know, Sandy, if the Council on Aging has a line item, for instance, that would cover the Wi-Fi for this building, or is it coming from this budget?
No, it's not. It's coming from a different budget. 152, I think. I know that if we have website kinds of things, and I don't really know the answer to that question. I don't see where it would go. If there was maintenance on the Wi-Fi, that's where it would go. But I mean, if there's a Wi-Fi service, like Spectrum, that is paid from the Council on Aging's budget.
For their equipment that's in here.
The question is the equipment in here, is that equipment covered under this budget? In other words, for instance, computer repairs, things of that nature, Wi-Fi equipment, things like that.
Yes,
those would be
but
covered.
to purchase Wi-Fi equipment is a capital project, okay? If they need more, it could come from here. There's hardware purchases, that's Wi-Fi equipment, correct?
Right.
What exactly Wi-Fi equipment are you talking about?
Well, sometimes they need switches and modems, and there's a whole litany of things that parts.
Yeah.
Parts for it, not necessarily the entire system.
Those are purchased through this budget.
Okay.
And they're purchased through the IT contractor we have, Renatus. He buys itemizes them and passes through the price on his invoicing, along with any work he did to get them all set up. Switches, modems,
All right, so he,
all that stuff.
okay, so Renatus is our contractor that's handling that particular process. Okay,
I have to dig in deeper, never mind.
okay, all right. Everyone? Okay, thank you, Sandy. Are there any other comments or
Sure.
any other things that we want to kind of pass along when it comes down to this budget? This is kind of one of my pet budgets. It's been that for many, many, many years. So it's good to see that it's going in the right direction, and hopefully it'll continue in the way of getting us up to date within the system. All right. Are there any other questions concerning the budget? Seeing or hearing none. All those in favor of the Information Technology Services budget for Department 157, please signify in the usual manner.
Aye.
Jeff Noble is an aye.
Aye.
Karen Schmidt is an aye.
Aye.
Kara Smith is an aye.
Aye.
Mike Jerome is an aye. Susan is an aye. And Bill Racine is an aye. Thank you very much, everyone. All right, on to town planner.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget for the town planner department, number 175, consisting of salaries of $48,624 and expenses of $2,100 for a total budget of $50,724, an increase of 1.89% over last year.
Second.
A motion has been made by Jeff Noble, seconded by Karen Schmidt, for the budget for town planner, Department 175, in the amount of $48,624 in salaries and $2,100 in expenses, for a total budget of $50,724, an increase of $941. This increase appears to be just the 2% increase and a step in grade as well. Is that correct, Sandy? Everything, all the expenses have been level funded?
Yeah, the grade 8, step 3 is what you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, will that change because she's retired?
Well, we don't know. We'll know that later on.
Okay.
The question was, will that change, will that number possibly change because Rebecca is departing? So I just, I'm assuming that number may decrease. But it's going to depend on who we hire for a planner and such, so I'm sure it would be.
That's correct. It all depends on the level of expertise of the next planner that we hire.
Yeah.
And I did clear that with Bob Bishop to make sure that it was okay to use this graded step. And quite frankly, grade 8, step 3 is right after you commenced your first year. So it's the beginning of your second year, step 3. So it's really just, it's 1 year away from the beginning of,
Okay.
in steps.
Okay.
So the first year is 0 to 6 months, then 6 months to 12, and then the beginning of your second year is step 3. We may have to raise it depending on the level.
Yeah, it'll depend on who we end up with a planner. I'm sure that there may be some changes to this in FY '23. I'm sure there'll be some sort of change in that. All right. Are there any other questions concerning this budget?
No.
Seeing or hearing no other discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Jeff Noble, Karen Schmidt,
Aye.
Carol Smith,
Aye.
Mike Jerome, and Susan.
Yes, I,
Thank you very much. That is unanimous. On to building maintenance.
Make a motion to approve the budget for building maintenance, department number 192, consisting of $66,129 in salaries, $14,055 in expenses, for a total budget of $80,184, an increase of 3.13% over last year.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded made by Jeff Noble, seconded by Karen Schmidt, for the Department of Building Maintenance, Department 192, in the amount of $66,129 in salaries, $14,055 in expenses, for a total budget of $80,184, a $2,433 increase. It's a 3% increase, Sandy. Is that due to the grades and steps changes?
yeah, it's almost 4% actually.
Oh, yeah.
So yes, it is due to, so if you look at his, so two days after the start of the fiscal year, he started July 5th. So he goes up a step for mostly the whole year actually, so, yeah, that's why it's almost 4%.
Okay. And plus the 2% COLA as well?
Yes, the 2% COLA is on that, and then there's a step increase too. But then all of that has 2% on it already, so.
Okay.
Which is third line, it says grade 1, step 5, up to step 5, pending experience.
Yeah.
That, I believe that is a part-time position that they've been attempting to fill. They haven't been able to fill it yet. How long has it been since we had a part-time person working with Pat? Sandy? It's been a while.
I would say about 3 years.
Yeah.
The person that worked with Pat before ended up getting a full-time position in highway. And so since then, like last year, they put a freeze on that, because the additional person that they hired was supposed to go between building maintenance and highway, but there was some pushback about the transfer station, in particular the brush area, not being open enough. And so instead of using that person to help out building maintenance, they gave that person a full-time job over in highway, rightfully so, because they're minus lots of full-time people over there. So
Yeah.
I think Pat's going to actively work on that this year, but that budget's pretty high, because it's up to step 5 in grade 1, which really is not that much, not that high, but depending on the level of experience of who they employ, depends on what step they come in.
Okay. Looks pretty straightforward. Are there any other questions?
I just had a question, just on the
Yes.
charging station here. Is it just usage? There's no fees involved with that, right?
The question is, Sandy, on the charging station, that's just electricity. There aren't any usage charges to go with that? You know?
I'm just
The
curious.
usage is electric,
There's no fees.
so
There's,
they plug
like,
in.
Yeah, no.
like there is they don't have a fee to actually use it.
Yeah,
like for us to have the machine there isn't a fee for that.
There's a monthly fee of $6.95, and what happens is that whatever revenue occurs, there's also revenue occurring because people pay with a credit card, right? And it is the use of credit cards offset that fee. So we record that as a receipt for our auditors. But I do have to say that I do believe that we're now not going to charge for the charging station, for people to use the charging station anymore.
Really?
But there still will be electrical costs.
That was your.
Because it's very minuscule. I mean, it's just not worth the accounting of it. So, if you go to Pittsfield, you don't pay to use their charging stations. If you go to like Amherst, you don't pay to use their charging stations. So, our auditors are quite perplexed that the town of Dalton decided to charge to use charging stations.
You know what's really interesting about that? There aren't any highway taxes through that electricity either. That's really interesting. So no gas taxes, no repairs for there aren't any, there's no revenue that helps with the wear and tear that are on our roads and highways from those cars traveling over them.
That they do get from gas tax.
That they do get that from gas taxes, they do not get that from electric cars. That's one of the reasons why we have struggled over the years to keep our infrastructure up to speed. And that's nationwide, that's not just here. But I think that's what prompted getting some of that money back, was so that we could, and it turned out that it was costing us more for accounting than it was to get the revenue. It just simply, fiscally, it
For
was
managing it, yes.
Right.
Managing all that.
yeah, it was costing us too much to manage it, yeah.
And I don't think the charging station gets used very much either. So
Right.
that probably could have been reduced, I would say.
Okay. Well, if that isn't used, it does end up back on free cash, if it isn't used, so we'll just have to, if we have to dig into that and kind of change it, that'd be a spot we could probably go to, that'd be like nickels and dimes.
I was going to say,
It's
it's
something.
about $1,000,
Yeah,
but whatever.
yeah. Okay, all right. Are there any other questions concerning the building maintenance budget? Seeing or hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Karen Schmidt, is an aye.
Aye.
Carol Smith is an aye.
Aye.
Mike Jerome's an aye. Susan is an aye. I think she's kind of standing still there all of a sudden. All right, and I can do that as well. Now, the next one will be Town Hall.
Make a motion to approve the budget for Town Hall Department number 196, consisting of salaries of $7,200 and expenses of $98,600 for a total budget of $105,800, an increase of 2.32% over last year.
Second.
A motion has been made by Jeff Noble, seconded by Karen Schmidt for Town Hall Department 196 in the amount of $7,200 in salaries and $98,600 in expenses for a total budget of $105,800. An increase of 2.32%. There's janitorial services, weekly carpets, floor services, carpet cleaning services, and building maintenance increase due to material cost increase up by 50%. Okay. It's this is an example where this increase is down in the purchase of janitorial services and building maintenance. The material costs for building maintenance, kind of a sign of the times, both with coronavirus And we've level funded these budgets for many, many, many years. And sooner or later, we're gonna have to increase them. Especially these expense line items for years and years have been level funded. So I would have to say that I don't find it to be an unreasonable increase, considering the things that we've been up against in this past year. And I don't think any of this is gonna go away anytime soon, so.
Well, it looks like we're fortunate to have a reduction in electricity.
So I do have a comment regarding, we reduced the electric bill because we have net metering credits through Eversource, driven by the fact that we use Rockwood AG Grid, which is an anaerobic digester.
Of course.
So our electric bills have decreased significantly. And this is the first time, because we have a good 2 years worth of experience on that program, that we've chosen to reduce electricity. I'm hoping I can catch it all the way through the rest of the departments as well. So that $5,000 went to, some of that went to the miscellaneous purchase services line, and some of it went to building maintenance costs. So the net increase ended up only being $2,400 when it could have been, $7,400 if we kept electricity the way it was. So
Yeah.
this is what I really hope that all the department heads do: figure out what is not necessary anymore and add it to where it is. So it's kind of been how we've been trying to budget. Hopefully, then level funding if necessary.
Yeah.
Increase where you can, increase where you need.
Right. It's just kind of a better accounting of where the money is going. In case someone questions, at least we can give an answer. All right.
The question I have is, for the website, the development committee was looking at hiring somebody to do their advertising
Yes.
about the town. Is that in this advertising budget? Has that been included? Because if
Okay.
I'm not mistaken, it was like,
All right. Can you come over here near this and ask that question, please? That's a little outside my building.
hi Sandy. Hi guys. The question I have is, the development committee was hiring somebody to do like a web thing, to do some advertising for the town. And they had approved part of that. Have you heard anything more about it? Because the numbers were kind of high on it.
Then what numbers on the advertising?
Yeah, it would be on the
I
advertising
don't
part.
understand.
They were looking at
Okay,
hiring somebody to do, like, fly the drone around. It was a local business here in town. I can't remember the name of it right off the bat. And he was giving out some numbers of how to better advertise for the town of Dalton. So I didn't know if you heard anything more, if that was going to come to fruition or not, and if it was, were those numbers going to reflect into this advertising budget? Because they were high numbers.
The cost of doing that
Yeah.
is what you're asking?
Yeah, well, have you heard anything about it? Has anything come to you at all regarding it? Nobody said anything to you? Okay, just wanted to
No, I
know.
did hear something about a drone, but I can't recall exactly what that was about.
Right. They were doing it,
And nothing's come across my desk for that.
okay, well,
Was that at a select board meeting?
it wasn't, I don't know if it went to the select board meeting, it was down in the development committee.
The drone thing?
Yeah.
They just wanted to
See,
promote Dalton, so they're gonna make a video about Dalton.
right, Great Britain. So you've heard of it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would say that would not go in the advertising part of this budget because this is for help wanted ads, newspaper ads, through the Beacon, through MMA.
That's what this No, it's not free.
Bridget is not,
Brittany and I are going, no, it ain't free.
not when a drone costs you $12,000 to $14,000, like a good drone to do that.
So Brittany, you haven't
You're
heard
gonna
yet?
purchase a drone?
No, Brittany,
No, there's a person they hired.
they did hire them?
No, you did hire them?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Brittany.
I mean, they hired Kyle and Dempsey,
Yes,
the Dalton Redevelopment Committee.
right.
So
And,
they're gonna pay for it out of their own budget.
yeah,
Okay, all right, that's what I was wondering, where that was coming from, because the numbers were very high on it. So I just
How
wanted
high are they?
to, they were like around 9,000. Probably, it depends on the package they're picking, that was the thing. So whatever, so, just take a look at that budget when it comes in, that's the one I'm curious about.
Well, just so you know, so you are aware, the Dalton Redevelopment Authority is an agency fund in the town of Dalton. It is not in the general fund, does not impact any kind of taxes. So they have, some money in there that, as a result of them cleaning up a few years ago a brownfield on North Street.
Mhm.
And once they cleaned up that brownfield, they sold that property, and the selling price of the property went back to the Dalton Redevelopment Authority Fund. So
Okay,
that's probably what they're going to use to
okay,
pay for that.
okay, I
So
just,
it does not impact any taxes.
okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you, Brittany, for clarifying that, appreciate it.
Yeah, right.
no problem. No problem.
And I do, so as long as we're talking about that advertising line, I was thinking of suggesting that why are we putting the advertising in the town hall budget? And the reason I'm asking that is it doesn't matter if highway is looking for people or the senior center is looking for people. All of that goes into the town hall budget. And when that becomes higher than the actual budget, which I do believe, let me look real quick.
Yeah, there's not much budget.
We are $230 away from spending the whole thing right now, and now we have to hire a couple more people. So would it make more sense to have that be in a standalone budget or department like engineering is, or what's the other thing that was just throw that out there and see what the finance committee thinks?
As I recall, Sandy, we used to have, I believe it was called legal advertising or something of that nature. Once upon a time, and I don't recall why we changed that. I don't recall off the top of my head. We eliminated that and we went to something different. Yes.
It's not eliminated, okay?
What did she put
So
in?
the legal advertising fund, it's a special, it's a
What number, Sandy?
revolving fund where when the planning board, does some stuff and it needs to be a public hearing, let's say, it needs to be advertised, the people that are promoting to have the public hearing for whatever project they're trying to do pays for the advertisement. And the revenue from their check goes in that legal ad revolving fund. And then the bill from the newspaper expends out of it. So it's a zero washing kind of thing. But this advertising budget in the town hall is used for those things that are not being driven, if that makes any sense to you. So we have a special revenue fund where people pay for ads because they want certain projects to go through. There has to be a public hearing or it's got to be listed in the paper. And that's where the person who's trying to get this work done pays for the ad and the ad comes out of there. So it is still around.
Yeah, the question is, Sandy, what is the downside to having it in the town hall budget? Other than being able to have a handle on it.
Other than being what now?
Other than being able to have a handle on it. In other words, have that specifically stand alone.
We can still keep track.
If it specifically stands alone, it does not impact the town hall budget whatsoever. It impacts its own budget. And
What's its own?
if the town hall budget has, let's say, $5,000 for lots of electricity, and the advertising budget is $5,000 less, underneath, gone through more than $5,000, that electricity budget is taking care of that deficit in the advertising budget, and shouldn't. So, I propose
Well,
that
that's just shifting
we
funding.
move
around.
that
Well, it's
by
not,
itself,
it's
and
not
then we take
really-
care of the actual cost of the advertising that we're going through.
now I kind of see what you're getting at, Sandy. What happens if it's in this budget here?
Yeah.
If there's an overage in that, it's absorbed into the budget. So you don't really get kind of a true read on what that budget is. And that's a budget, that's a budget that can be all over the place. It's not, I remember that. Didn't we, a few years ago, it was quite a few years ago, didn't we have to, because of that budget overrunning everything else, we ended up having to spend some money on it? We had to go to the reserve fund for it? I don't know why that is, it just sounds so familiar to me.
But you'd still be able to keep track of the
Well,
outlays.
that's because other things in the budget could take care of it, let's
Right.
say. But mainly, Pat is very frugal, so we're seeing him, try to not spend as much as he cannot spend, let's say. And so he's done a good job managing this budget, but mainly because sometimes the advertising takes over. And right, like I just said, we're $240 away in March from this budget
Right.
line item going underneath.
But maybe last year,
And
we didn't hit
we
it.
know we have 3 people we need to hire: a mechanic, a planner, and I can't think of who else, but, or even the one that Pat needs in 192.
So
And that budget's already almost zero, so
that would be
the
one,
rest of this budget will take that up.
that would be one to have a 5 or 7 year tracking, like we have in some budgets. You know how we say
Right.
the number has been such and such for the last 5 years,
Well, we
or
could-
5, and then we know, or maybe last year it didn't use the whole budget.
Right.
Maybe 2 years ago it didn't use the whole budget.
Wouldn't we have that on
I would-
So if we treat it like engineering and we treat it like our legal fee, legal, then it's on its own and we get a better idea of what we may have to keep transferring or just up the budget, That's my thought, anyway.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, if that was something that the select board, it isn't, the finance committee isn't really, when it comes down to the layout of the budgets, and that, I believe, that actually falls to the select board and town manager, I believe. Maybe, and I'm assuming too, the town accountant. I wouldn't have an objection, and I think the committee,
To make it into the department.
Just make it.
basically making a new department called advertising, I would assume.
That's what Sandy's advocating for.
Is that
that's
what
what
you're
she-
advocating for, Sandy, is to come up with an advertising department?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't see it though.
That way it
It
stands
doesn't-
alone. It makes no sense to me to be in the town hall budget, since it's not specifically related to the town hall.
Well, it is.
Because it doesn't, well, when you think about it, it doesn't relate to any, the town hall budget just has some contingency hours for salaries, but other than that, it has no If it had salaries, then the advertising for positions and that would relate. I kind of think it's not necessarily a bad idea. It's kind of a general, covers more of a broader spectrum in that case.
How would we go about setting up a new department?
Yeah, how do we go about the new department, Sandy? Is it a case of you have to go before the select board, they approve it, and does it have to come back to the finance committee to do that?
I'm not sure they have to vote on it. I don't know that anybody has to vote on it, you know? I mean, it's nice to run it by there, but I'm not sure a vote is necessary.
So you can just
And I can
add,
double check that.
just add it to the budget
I
sheet?
know I created a new department when we were giving someone a, I can't think of the word I want to use now, hold on a second, it's right here. I was able to create a new department for a separation agreement
Right,
without going to town meeting or having a vote or
Right.
anything. So
right.
I'm thinking, in my best judgment, if the need comes for a separate department, what you will be voting on is appropriating for it.
Okay,
But,
well,
I mean, I think I would run that by people, that's for sure.
that being the case, is this something you want to try to do in this fiscal year, or do you want to let this go through? Because this budget would have to be reduced by $9,200 if you want to do that.
And we'd have to appropriate.
Right.
it.
And then we have to
We can
increase
say,
the
we can table it, if you want to try to do that, Sandy, we can table this budget tonight. We'll table it and pick it up on one of our later meetings. Is that something you'd like to attempt to do?
Yeah, I would like to run that by the select board and see if they concur. If you're in agreement, you think it's necessary,
Well,
I mean, that's why I'm asking you.
it'd be similar to a budget for, it'd be similar to a budget for telephone, for instance, and similar to the budget for postage, for instance, you know, the crossover departments and, you know.
I have one question.
Yeah.
So how much of the work from the town hall employees comes from that advertising? So I'm assuming the reason that it's in the budget under town hall is because a town hall employee gets the advertising and whatever they need to do, they gather it and they post it. So how much time, like, does it affect the town hall employees, like, their time that they're doing?
This is just expense.
So it's just an expense,
It's
okay.
just expense, there's no hours related to it.
So it's nothing,
Whatever it
it's
is.
just the flat line of like, this is what we do out here. Okay, thank
And
you.
that would go for all advertising across the board.
Yeah,
Town
right,
government.
whether the highway department's advertising, or, I guess.
I mean, would it,
I'm guessing.
yeah, would it include the highway department, would it include this, would it include?
Okay, the conversation that's taking place, just to kind of let everyone, because I know there's difficulty with the microphones here. The question and conversation that's going on, and please, Susan, if you would like to chime in, you're certainly welcome to, is this advertising budget. Kara was asking about it being across all the various departments, kind of like the telephone and a few of the other budgets. Does it cover, will it be covering all of that, other than legal notices, which would turn up in the planning, like the planning board, for instance? But it would it?
That would turn up in that legal ad revolving fund.
Right.
And others do too, so, like Board of Health has some stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
right.
yes, that, in my opinion, right now, this advertising budget covers everything. Everybody's advertising, no matter what department it is.
Right.
So it's in town hall though, so
Right.
I don't understand why. And so if it's pulled out of there, then it would also cover everything that has to be paid for by the town for advertising, whatever it is.
Okay, so for instance, if you have to hire an employee, if you have to do that, that would come out of this budget. You know, like Indeed or one of those, and they use that kind of a firm. it would also come from, this is assumption on my part. Would it be if we had a contract for paving or something of that nature in the town, advertising would come out of this budget as well, would it? Sandy?
Go out to bid, yeah.
Yes, so our bid, I think that kind of is where your question is headed,
Legal.
Carol.
Well, she didn't know if, I have to say, she's looking at also, who's putting all this paperwork together? Somebody's got to do the work.
Well, right,
Advertise.
the
So
department,
that's the question.
in that case, it was, the question, Sandy, was, how do we take care of the personnel that are writing these advertisements? It's actually, and I might be able to answer this, that would actually be part of the person's job description.
Okay.
So, for instance, the highway superintendent wants if the road superintendent needs to hire someone, that person would be responsible for making up the advertisement. It's actually the actual cost of, for instance, the deeds or an advertisement classified in the Eagle or some other. Matter of fact, even there might even be some costs associated with posting it on our job board right on our own website. I'm sure there's some cost associated with that. For instance, having our web designer or whatever put it up.
Okay. So we don't have a specific employee in the town who all of these
Yeah,
go
we have,
to?
the web designer does put that stuff up,
Web designer.
but
Yeah.
we have a web design line item in one of the budgets where
Now,
that
that come over
gets
there
covered,
because
so.
that's advertising.
Right. So,
That come over?
so Sandy, can some of those costs, like the question in the room is, can some of those costs, like for instance, the web designer or making any changes to try to do an advertising thing, could that be rolled into this advertising budget? Quite frankly, I think even the website can be considered some form of advertising for the town. So we don't want to have it confused. We don't want people to get confused with that. So because, every town has to advertise,
That's why we have all the websites costs going in one spot.
Okay,
Anything to do with the website, and part of creating new pages on the website are costs money, but maintaining pages on the website that are already there, is a monthly fee we pay to our website designer. So, and that's in its own budget, along with the internet stuff, and
This can get
I
confusing.
forget, that's one
Especially
part.
when it comes to the webpage.
right, so, yeah.
There's one thing
Look,
about advertising within the webpage, it's another to keep the webpage up to date.
Right,
And
There's-
the names of the departments and the people, there's two different
Yeah,
things going.
it's, Karen is talking about, there's two pieces to this puzzle. When it comes to the website, there's kind of two pieces to the puzzle. You have the maintenance and keeping it running and making it work properly is one part to the website. The other part is actually putting the content in the website. In other words, an advertisement for a position, for instance, or if we want to advertise some hours or some other thing like that, the cost associated with putting that in may come from this. Well, I would think some of that cost would come from this budget, would it not? No? If it can stay within that, if it can stay within the website budget, it'll stay within the website budget? Okay. Now, does that pretty well answer your questions? Is that, okay. So,
You want to table this one then?
yeah, Sandy, we're gonna have a motion to table this budget so that you can put together a department of your own relating to advertising. That would probably, I would suggest that you put it under the general government section, if you're gonna do that.
Yeah, it would be along the same lines of 1/9s, I think. I have to check on
Yes.
that though, okay?
Right,
So the 1/9s, I don't have that paper from,
yeah.
It's okay.
it could be 194, it could be 19,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah,
we
so
don't
one
have.
of the 1/9s, yeah, okay. All right, yeah, that sounds pretty reasonable. So, they have a
Unless
motion.
I see it differently when
have her, when she does that, to put
And it
in
should be under general government.
Yeah.
Right, right.
a cost increase, right now we at 92, maybe we should look at,
Well,
because she's creating this.
okay. Karen mentioned, Sandy, that in creating this budget, you may want to think about increasing the amount. At 9,200, you may want to increase that amount a little bit to make it a little more appropriate for what we are indeed spending. Yeah, I get a very little from Jeff.
Yeah, very little, that, but.
Just frugal.
Yeah.
It's a good finance committee
What I'll
budget.
do is I'll look at
9,300.
the expenses for the
Yeah.
past year
Okay, that would be perfect.
and
That,
make an average,
okay,
Right.
and I'll display that on the budget document
Good.
too.
Okay,
okay,
yeah.
Those costs are.
okay, that will,
And she can do
That
that
would
this
be
budget
perfect.
season?
I'm sorry,
She can do that this budget season?
you'll be able to do this for this budget season, correct, Sandy? For the FY '22?
I think, yeah,
Okay, all right. I'll entertain a
it
motion
shouldn't be
then.
difficult.
Then I'll make a motion to table this particular budget for Town Hall, Department number 196.
Second,
A motion has been made,
And I'll make, sorry.
a motion has been made by Jeff Noble, seconded by Karen Schmidt, to table the Town Hall Department 196 budget until a later meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Karen, Kara,
Aye.
Mike, Bill's in favor, Susan? Okay, that is unanimous, thank you very much, everyone. This one is set aside until Sandy can get us the new advertising budget, we'll do both of these at the same time. And I hope we'll be able to see a pretty good explanation, I'm sure we will, Sandy, you're quite good at that.
Hopefully it doesn't force the budget to go to 6 pages. I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
Well, Jeff wants to make sure that it doesn't make the budget go to 6 pages, the explanation.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget for Central Office Supply Department number 197, consisting of $16,500 in expenses only, an increase of 3.13% over the previous year.
Second,
A motion has been made by Jeff Noble, seconded by Karen Schmidt for Central Office Supplies, Department 197, in the amount of $16,500, comprised totally of expenses. That is a $500 increase from the previous year. It appears that the toner and print and copier and printer supplies are increasing, Sandy? I remember, yeah, as a matter of fact, I recall having a conversation with Pat about this budget. He was struggling there to kind of keep the prices down, and it just wasn't happening. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not surprised.
so with new printers
oh, the lumber and stuff.
or copiers
Oh.
comes new kinds of ink.
Well, yeah,
Don't build it.
We've had, a lot of new
Oh,
copiers,
yeah.
upstairs, a color copier,
yeah,
on the 3rd floor, and, senior center has a new copier.
yeah.
Black and white.
Uh,
Don't tell us. Don't.
All right, well, are there any other questions concerning this budget? It seems pretty straightforward. Copier supplies and toner and such are increasing. I've seen it in my own company when I ordered toner for my new copier. They told me it was $700 for a setup. I about fell on the floor. So I only paid $600 for the copier. It is what it is, right? All right, is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify in the usual manner.
Aye.
Jeff Moses, aye.
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Kara,
Aye.
Mike, Susan, and Bill. That is approved. Thank you very much.
I'll make a
Last
motion.
but not least,
Make a motion to approve the budget for emergency department, emergency management department number 295, consisting of $6,000 in salaries and $10,458 in expenses for total budget $16,458, an increase of 30.9% over last year.
Second.
wow.
Salaries.
A motion has been made by Jeff Noble, seconded by Karen Schmidt for Emergency Management Department 295, in the amount of $6,000 for salaries and $16,458 in, $10,458 in expenses, for a total budget of $16,458, an increase of $3,885. A 30% increase, 31% increase, wow.
I think, Bill, it might be helpful for you to read this letter from Dan Filio.
All right, we have a letter here from the emergency manager, Dan Filio. I'd like to take a moment and read that letter. I haven't read it yet completely, so bear with me. I respectfully request that the town consider an increase to the stipend provided to the emergency manager. Presently, the EMD is provided a stipend that was established prior to my appointment to the position in 2011. At that time, the stipend was based on the emergency manager putting in the hours needed to respond to emails and attend about 10 meetings per year. Since this time, the stipend has received small increases, as have other jobs in town. Shortly after I was appointed, Hurricane Irene struck the area, exposing the need to expand the role of EMDs in every community. From this, MEMA addressed the needs by developing programs that require local communities to take steps to prevent problems rather than respond to them. The role expected of the emergency manager has evolved to a much larger position, a position that at some point the town will have to consider making a permanent scheduled position. Duties include regular contact with state and federal agencies to coordinate services in the community. This communication is through emails, phone calls, computer programs, i.e. web EOC, development of and maintenance of grants for programs that are controlled by FEMA and MEMA, and for equipment used by the emergency services of the community. Coordination of the town's response to events of an emergency nature, such as natural or man-made disasters, that challenge the community's vulnerability, and to develop programs to mitigate the effects. Working with agencies and departments within the town to ensure that open communication is maintained. Develop programs to address the need to ensure the operations of the town, i.e. COOT plan and E-count. I'm not quite sure what those are. Operate and maintain the code red system for the town. These are some examples of how the EMD role has grown since 2011. Then COVID-19 happened. The duties of the EMD exploded, as did the duties of many others. These will subside as the pandemic does, and less will be required until the next emergency. Respectfully submitted, Daniel Filio, the emergency manager. That's a pretty compelling letter when it comes down to that position.
Is that something that has been considered or talked about for the town
Is it, well, I guess the real,
Select board?
the real question is, I have no problem knowing what I've seen, seeing Dan go through with relationship to emergency management. We have had a lot of disasters. A lot of things have come up. 2020, the entire year was a disaster, so he's vastly at $2,526 for the 2021 fiscal year. I think it was vastly underpaid, to say the least. So the $6,000 stipend in my opinion, is a good place to start. I don't know how we would ever go out and find a manager or make it part of a position that we already have in place. But I would advocate that we look into, if nothing else, find a person part-time for the job. Someone that's doing the job for, say, 20 hours, putting aside 20 hours a week, devoting to it. Is that something that the committee would be, this isn't a motion, it's more of a nod of the head and that kind of thing, and maybe for next fiscal year, in 2023, maybe we could have something in place. It seems to me like a good thing to do.
No, I agree. And if the job's function has changed as much as it has, I don't know if there's a job description out there or anything that may be out there for emergency manager, but obviously something should be created and
And you
that
can
would
advertise.
kind of see the responsibility of the part-time one.
The comment,
And put a new comment, put a new key code in for it too.
the comment was that we should look into, if nothing else, if we're going to put something like this together, is come up with a job description for this person. So I don't know, Dan, is Dan under the watchful, is Dan's operation under the watchful eye of the town manager, or is he under the watchful eye of the select board? Sandy, do you know?
I'm not really sure. I know that we both communicate a lot about everything that's gone on with this pandemic. But in my role as accountant, I was also on the emergency management team. So, I don't know if he doesn't really report to me. I mean, he's standalone, does his own job, kind of thing.
Okay, that's what my question was. The
Just like
position he
any
has,
other person, yeah.
is it a kind of a standalone kind of position? That was kind of what I was.
Well,
Kind of driving.
if he's on the budget and he gets a salary, wouldn't he have
I
to
know
talk
that
to
if
somebody?
it weren't for Dan, we would not have been able to get our reimbursements for CARES Act.
Oh, absolutely.
He took all of that and, we collaborated on it, but in the end, he did all of the FEMA and NEMA input.
Oh,
And
yeah.
as you probably know, that is the dreadful system.
Yeah. I've dealt with FEMA and NEMA over the years. I've been quite fortunate, I suppose, or unfortunate, I don't know which the case would be, to have to deal with that over the years. So it's a challenge, and like I said, $6,000. And it seems like that's beginning to happen on a more regular basis. These kinds of problems. So
I wonder if this kind of
And he
position,
attends a lot of conferences on all of that. And on anything. I mean, the municipal vulnerability study, all that, VRPC helped us with getting that on board. That was all emergency management too. And what was the other thing that we were working on? How just the emergency part of having the employees have what they would do in an emergency, what their needs would be in an emergency, all that had to be documented and stuff like that. So he worked on that all himself and is putting
description for this kind of position.
Would the state happen to have a description, do you think, Sandy, for this position? I think this is a required position by the state, I believe. So they may have a description for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say they do. Well, all of those emergency management directors from every single town all collaborate on meetings. So
Okay.
I imagine there's something like that.
Our two other towns have a regular, salary position. Or is it?
Sandy, the question by Jeff is, do you know if other towns have these salaried positions? Have you don't know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe some
I
I don't know, and maybe Dan does.
Yeah,
for the future.
yeah, when I see Dan, I'm gonna have to ask him that. Okay. All right. Are there any other questions about this budget? Susan, did you, yes?
Well, I just think that if we were to go forward with considering increasing this, that we would probably need more information about, how this is handled in other towns and, if there are specific functions and what they are, and, not really a proposal, but just gather more information, because if we just said 20 hours, we don't really have a basis for just looking at a number of hours. I think we need more information.
Right, exactly. That would be the case. I think the little bit of a rise, the $3,000 that we're raising it this year, I don't even think it even accomplishes what it's supposed to in the first place. So it's going to get us hopefully it'll get us over the hump, and we can take a look at this fiscal year. I would advocate, it sounds to me, and I'm seeing a lot of kind of nods from the committee, I don't know if the select board would need a vote of the committee to increase this, but I don't think so. But it needs to be studied, and I think we need to take it seriously. Study, we need to spend some money to study it, I think is what we should do.
So this letter was addressed to
So we're going
Sandy
to
and
reach out to the select board now?
Bishop.
Yeah. I think I'm probably going to end up doing that. I'll probably send the chairman and vice chair an email concerning this about
For the future.
for the very near future. Like, if we I think the committee kind of, again, back at the nods of the head, would advocate trying to get something put together for next fiscal year.
Right.
To get this is not something we want to sit around and wait for it to land in our laps, and all of a sudden we need to go to our reserve fund and say, oh, we need to hire somebody for $40,000 a year, and we got to take it all out of our reserve fund, which is at $65,000. So we kind of want to avoid that if we can. So if we have,
Are you talking about you're not talking about this 6,000. You're talking about changing the way this department is paid.
In the future.
Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, yes, in the future.
For fiscal year 22?
Fiscal year 23.
Okay.
Yeah, not 22. It's too late for 22. We got enough to do. Thank you very much. We're good. So, all right. Dave.
But I'm
Can I
speculating that
just add
Sandy
another little
thought.
thing to this? And I don't know if you were there, Bill, when they brought this up. Because they went over this budget this past Monday. And there was talk about compensating Dan for the work he did in FY21.
What?
If there was a way we could find an appropriation to help with that. And my thought was, in May and June, we can appropriate money from one budget to another.
Right.
Yeah,
Both the select board and the finance committee.
Yeah, that's exactly. We did that in was it 2019 to cover the settlement.
Yeah.
If I recall, we did, right at the end of the fiscal year, if you recall, we moved some things around and it ended up not affecting any tax rates or anything of that nature, so it worked out well.
Yeah, we do that every year.
Yeah, so,
Every year.
yeah, so I would advocate for that if they can. So, I'll pen an email, and I'll keep the committee informed as to where we are on that front.
But in the meantime, I guess,
Well, I think we should, if we can move this budget and be done with it for the evening. All right. Seeing or hearing no further discussion on the emergency management budget, all those in favor signify in the usual manner. Aye. Jeff Nobles, aye. Karen Schmidt is aye.
Aye.
Kara is an aye.
Aye.
Mike is an aye. Susan? Susan's an aye. Bill is an aye. That is unanimous. Thank you very much, everyone, for your input. That is all we have for budgets this evening. We will convene another meeting next Wednesday. Well, I see this quizzical look on Sandy's face.
Well, did you do the sealer?
Oh, you know what? You sent me the, you had sent those on the PDF. I think, Susan, you had the PDF. There were others that were there.
There's three.
We'll have to, because I didn't have that. I just thought it was a PDF of the ones that I had. Because you were really running out of time. When I left the office today, you were really running out of time. There's no way she's going to get more done. And you were able to, God bless you. So I apologize to you.
On the emails that I sent you,
Yeah.
I mentioned to you which ones they were,
Yeah, I didn't.
along with the PDF.
Yeah, I was running out of my office at that time to get up here because of my slow computer. Trying to get up here in advance. And,
We can do it next time.
yes, we'll catch them on the next. Thank you very much for putting that rushing tonight to try to get some extras for us. Thank you very much for doing that, Sandy.
What does she think we'll have for next week?
Karen has asked, do we have a rough idea of how much we will have for next Wednesday? Do we know how much is going before the select board?
That is a work in progress right now, and it all depends on what I get done over the weekend.
Oh, okay.
Along with accounting, closing the books. So, which one's most important?
our budgets.
Our budgets, if you're asking the finance committee, it's our budgets.
Since we
You're asking about your, now, on the other hand, if you go and ask the auditors, they're gonna say closing books, so.
You want our budgets approved for the town meeting?
Right, and if you want free cash certified before we go to town meeting,
Yeah,
If we
that
have
has
time.
to get done
then we
too,
have to
so.
move.
yeah,
Whatever I can get done, and
Yeah,
I cannot give you
okay.
an estimate,
okay. We were just a little curious about that, so we can be a little prepared for it, so. Okay. All right, Sandy.
yeah. Well,
Sounds good, thank you.
I have like 4 budgets currently done already. They just have questions that the department heads need to answer to. CBRSD, I believe, is going before tomorrow night for their final, I believe.
Right. Yeah, Greg said that, Greg said that Monday night, he said that.
Right.
So we
And
may,
we're getting our local required contribution lowered by $44,000 because of the, Bill, you were there for that.
I thought it was $65,000.
No,
Oh.
40,
Okay.
41, 44, something like that. And that has to do with a grant that they got, that they can use for those towns, and there are 4 towns whose required local contribution went up. And that's, the select board had to approve it. Remember you had a question about how come you didn't, the finance committee didn't know about it?
Yeah, well, it was because I thought it was gonna land in the FY '21, but that's why I asked about it, was, I thought it was gonna land in the FY '21 budget. If it did land in the FY '21, it would have to come before us. But because it's gonna land in the FY '22, they're just gonna build it into their budget. Is that correct?
It's gonna be reduced out of the budget, yes.
Absolutely, okay. All right, so we should see the CVRSD, maybe we'll see the CVRSD budget next Wednesday? That would be cool.
Possibly if I guess, I don't,
Okay,
maybe.
that would be cool if we could see that. We'll see.
Are you gonna come and
Did
present
you
it?
want them to come and talk?
Will,
Yes.
yes, we would like that, if they can.
So
I'll,
you'll have to work that out.
yeah, I'll see if I can reach out to the chair of the Central Berkshire Regional School District.
I just think that's too significant of a budget to not have
The
a
chair?
representative.
Right. The
The
chair,
superintendent, you mean?
well, I'll CC the superintendent. I'll talk to the chair first.
The chair of the school committee?
Yes,
Oh, I didn't know we talked to them, did we?
I do.
That's how we used to do it.
Yes, you talk to, the chair of the finance committee would talk to the chair of the school committee. And the arrangements are made to have it, because the superintendent of schools works for the school committee. They don't work for the town. So I have to go to the school committee and ask the school committee to have a presentation made. They're always very cooperative. It's not like they're uncooperative. So it's always cooperative. Just in case of I gotta get the wheels in motion. So that's what has to happen. So.
We can't
Okay.
do that unless we definitely know when we can have that budget.
Well, right, exactly, and it sounds like the budget's gonna be going down next Wednesday, or tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow.
Right, they're gonna review the budget tomorrow.
We were lucky to have a select board meeting on Monday night because
Right.
they had to vote to accept that.
Yeah, that funding, they had to vote to accept it, yeah. Yeah, they had, and again, it has to do with, that's why I asked the question of how come that hadn't come in, and the reason why it hadn't come before us in the finance committee, because it actually related not to fiscal FY '21, it relates to the coming fiscal year FY '22. So, all right. Okay, is there anything further to come before the committee?
Around here.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
You do.
Consider that, a motion's been made by Jeff Noble to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
The motion has been seconded by Karen Schmidt. All those in favor of adjournment, signify in the usual manner.
Aye.
Jeff
Aye.
Noble, Karen Schmidt,
Aye.
Karen Smith, Mike Jerome, Bill, and Susan. Thank you very much, everyone.